Virgo 10. Two heads looking out beyond the shadows. The duality of mind and the existence of unconsciousness are indicated by the title. The unconscious aspect of us does not understand, does not know what's going on. And there's a lot of it. There's a lot more unconsciousness within us than consciousness. And we approach this question of ignorance and darkness of knowledge by looking at two sides of things. On the one side, we're in a physical body, we need to deal with that. What that means is that we need to get food on the table, shelter over our head, interact with other people, work it out so that we're actually okay with life. We're able to cope. And on the other hand, we have to work out why. Why are we alive? What's the meaning of it all? Some kind of spiritual philosophy that gives us the meaning of life. And those two aspects of the mind's ability are extraordinarily different. We have a mind that can actually cope with both of these questions, both of these issues. How to fix mechanical things, car maintenance, house repair, and all of these kind of physical things that we can actually work out how to cope with the world. That we have a mind that can do that. And we have a mind that can contemplate God. Extraordinarily different skills required for those two abilities of the mind. And it is the mind that's doing that. The mind is what tells us how, and it also tells us why. Has both of those functions. Now, if somebody's very good at one and not the other, they're out of balance. So a car mechanic who has no sense of the meaning of life is rather dry. On the other hand, a priest who can't fix his car is rather dependent and unworldly. So the perfection of the mind's ability comes when we can have a philosophical and a pragmatic approach. And there's something arises when we have both of those in a reasonable balance. There's some ability that the mind then has, some understanding, some knowledge, when we have both why and how, and we apply it in every situation. And we're studying the importance of that in this degree. The ability of the mind to grasp higher realities is indicated here. We start when as children, we work out how it all works. We begin with no consciousness and we begin to think and learn. Well, why did that happen? And why did these two people do that? And this question of why is answered by observation. And after a certain while, and we've worked out how to deal with it all, the question why changes. It's not why do we do that in terms of the result that we want, but why are we doing it anyway? This philosophical question emerges in our 20s typically, sometimes earlier, sometimes never. And those of us who are interested in the mysteries, those of us who are studying astrology and Sabian Symbols and so on, we're those who really do focus rather more on why. Why is it all the case? What are we trying to achieve here? What's our purpose on earth? And can we move towards it by changing our mental attitude? And we come up with the understanding that we need some formula, some formulaic explanation of the meaning of life. And we look to spiritual teachings and esoteric teachings to give us that formula. And very many books are written on the subject, none of which agree with one another completely, many of which disagree on a very deep fundamental level. Same with religion. Many religions have a very similar attitude and yet disagree about the first axioms, the core belief. And what happens after death, they don't really always agree about that. So there's some big issues about which we can be taught, and we just have to choose which to believe in. Now, the process that we go through, whether we're on scientific inquiry or a spiritual path, is very simple. Hypothesize, test, amend your hypothesis. You can have direct insight and know things, but unless you can put it into that formula, you can't explain it, and you can't use it either, not with another person. What you know inwardly is not really as useful. It's not really at all useful unless you can communicate it with another person in some level of rapport with you. So we need this idea of a formula. So what do we do with our hypotheses of spiritual meaning in life? Well, we take examples. For example, paganism, Christian, Islam, they've got ideas about the nature of reality. And we look at them, we check them out, and we see if they work. So, for example, in the Christian tradition, turn the other cheek is a teaching. Well, that runs contrary to the current wisdom on the playground behavior in response to bullies. If a bully is teaching your child at school to be obedient to their will, in other words, give me your lunch money or I'll hit you, what does the child do? The Christian teaching would be turn the other cheek, give him your money, and so on. And yet, current wisdom is that the best thing to do to a bully is to stand up and say, no, I will fight you if necessary, but you will not bully me. So you have really interesting kind of test there of your hypothesis. If you're a Christian and you believe in turn the other cheek, what do you say to your child at school? Suck it up, kid. I don't know if that's workable. Do you change your hypothesis, therefore, to change Christianity into a modified version? Or do you chuck out Christianity? What are you going to do with that? The same with pagan. It's not, pagans haven't got it right either, nor the North American Indians, nor anyone. All of these ideas that one particular culture and one spiritual teaching is correct and workable in practice, it's just nonsense. You look at them, you look at some of the practices of the old Native Americans and the old pagans. Pagans used to sacrifice living people to their gods a couple of thousand years ago. The Celts did that. We forget that, So, in life, you think about what might work, you check it out, and then you change your philosophy, you change your behaviors, you change who you are and how you are in accordance with the knowledge that you develop from your experiences. This trial and error process of living is foolish unless we actually adjust our next trials according to our last errors. This is called knowledge management. We have experiences that give us knowledge. To use that knowledge is knowledge management. We change our behaviors according to our experiences. If we don't do that, then we're not growing. The only evidence of real spiritual development is the shift of perception, a shift in how you see the world and what you do as a result of that. So in summary, the mind is dual in nature. One duality is how and why. Another is the material world and the spiritual world, and the right and the left brain, and so on. And one without the other is unbalanced. What we're trying to do is to balance these two aspects of mind, and we will then experience the advantages of having that duality put into balance. And it's likely that you're going to start understanding more because the third eye begins to awaken. And when it is awakened, then you can see what other people cannot see, understand what other people cannot understand, and your intuition is remarkably improved. So if these are the symptoms that you're going through at the moment, it's the symptoms of an opening third eye. This occurs when you learn how to balance how with why.